My name is Mark Needham with Startary, and in this video we're going to learn how to ingest JSON documents from an S3 bucket into Apache Pinot. So what you can see on the screen now is one of my S3 buckets, and we're inside the events folder, which has a list of JSON files. So now let's go over to the terminal and we'll download one of those files so that we can have a look at its contents. So the file's now been downloaded. Let's cat the file and we'll get the first 5 lines, and then let's run it through the JQ tool so that we can get a better view of the content. And so you can see here we've got a UID, we've got a count, and we've got a timestamp for each of those documents in the file. We're now going to go over to Visual Studio Code and have a look at the schema that we're going to create in Pinot. And so you can see here we've got a dimension field, so that's for the UID, we've got a metrics, that's for the count, and then finally we've got a date time, that's for the timestamp field. And then the name of this schema is going to be events. And if we come over to the next file, we can see this is our table config. Again, the name is events. We link to that schema from the previous file, and we're telling Pinot, hey, this is an offline table, which means we're going to be batch importing data into it. Now we'll go over to the terminal and we'll run the add table command. Once that's run, we're going to go back to our browser and let's have a look at that table. And we can see here, hey, the table's been created, although at the moment there's nothing in it. And so now we'll come back again to Visual Studio Code and let's see if we can sort that out. So what we're looking at now is a job spec. And so this is a description of how we're going to import data into Pinot. So you can see we're specifying the name of the bucket in S3. We're also specifying an S3 scheme so that Pinot knows, hey, I'm dealing with a S3 here, so I need to go and load data from there. And then finally, we're specifying the region where the bucket lives. Before we import data into this table, we're going to need to make sure we have a user that has an AWS policy, which has the following permissions. So you need to be able to get files from S3. You need to be able to list files in the bucket, and then you need to be able to get the individual objects. And if we now come over to our terminal, we can launch that job spec, which is going to go to S3, get those files, and load them into Pinot. Now don't worry, the key, secret, and the access key that we're using here, they've both been revoked, so you don't need to worry about those. But once that job's run, we can go back into Pinot, refresh that table, and you can see now we've got a bunch of data in there. So we've got almost 10,000 records have been loaded. And one final thing before we finish, if we navigate over to the table view, we can see here there's a list of segments that have been created inside the events table. So we get one segment for each of those JSON files. And if we navigate into one of the segments, we can see at the top there's some metadata that is used to indicate where exactly did that data come from. And so you can see it's got a path to the individual file in S3. Okay, so that's the end of this video, and hopefully you can now take what you've learnt so that you can ingest your own JSON documents from S3 into Apache Pinot. And we look forward to seeing you in the next video.